Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I am joined by the amazing Grae himself. Grae, how you doing today, man?
I'm fantastic. I've had a very good week and I've consumed a lot of horror actually this week. So
That
I'm feeling good.
that definitely sounds like a great week, my friend.
For sure.
So a little bit about Grae for you guys that don't know Grae yet. He's a horror fan, nerd, and content creator, host of Kill the Dead and GraeMatter podcast. Kill the Dead is a bi-weekly review of films, new and old or independent, that we love, hate, or love to hate. And then GraeMatter is a horror fan theories where his guests they explain the loose end threads and what is in some of the favorite horror films of theirs. So first off, let's talk about Kill the Dead. How did that get started, and how did you become a part of Kill the Dead?
Well, the Super Bowl.
Really?
About 4 years ago, I was just watching, or I was getting ready to see what ads were going to happen, and the new Cloverfield speculation was going on for Netflix. And I just put an ad on Craigslist, and I was like, "Hey, I want to talk about this movie when it drops." And originally, he's no longer with us, but my first co-host, Will, he accepted the ad, and we kicked off the first hour-long episode about 4 years ago, and haven't looked back.
That's so awesome, man. I'm sorry that that had to be the first film you guys talked about, but it's awesome that it started.
Yeah.
I'm just joking. It wasn't that bad, man. I know a lot of people shit on that movie, but I liked it. It wasn't exactly what I thought. I was hoping we'd get some more references to the original Cloverfield, but at least it explained some of the dimensional stuff that was going on. And then GraeMatter. Tell me a little bit about GraeMatter. I know you tie up loose ends and talk about things that were left open in films, but can you give us a little bit of an example of that?
Yeah. Pretty much, if you ever heard Kill the Dead, I will go on a tangent. like sheer fandom and make believe. And I felt like that should just be expanded upon in a different arena and let people who enjoy reviews for actual reviews have that. And then have a little playground where me and just people I've met across the internet can just geek out about any theory you've ever had about a movie and or debunk things just for fun. So it's basically
awesome,
just a play box for horror fans.
That's cool because horror is an amazing community. I want to put that out there first and foremost. I absolutely adore being a part of this community, and it's very rare I meet someone that I dislike. But it can be very heavy at times. People take it almost too seriously at times. So it's really nice to have something that people can just come on and have fun and talk about their theories and unleash like that. I think that's a really cool idea, man.
Yeah, it's really been fun. And I do agree. Horror is that place where we can all come together. It's very rare. We have a saying at Kill the Dead. It's like we might be strangers when we start, but we'll be friends by the end. Whether we agree on the movie or not. It's just been this ride through horror has been fantastic.
And I got to tell you, man, and I mean this in no disrespectful way at all. Whenever I hear the name Kill the Dead podcast, I think of Tales from the Hood. When it's like, man, how the hell are you going to kill something that's already dead? That's like refrying some beans. That's like when I first heard the title, that's the first thing that came to my head. And again, I mean that in no disrespectful way, because the first Tales from the Hood is in probably my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. And it just got me. I think that's such a brilliant name for a podcast, man.
I can't remember if this has ever come up, but that is exactly where it came from. It's been a minute since anyone's asked. I don't even know. But yeah, that was the influence. I struggled for a long time for a name. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is my favorite franchise. So the original intro was heavily lifted from the 74 film. And but the name just wouldn't come to me. And then finally, I was probably just watching it one day and I was like, this is it.
Yeah. What a great movie to take it from, man. That's such a fantastic, powerful movie. Me and Ashley just watched it again to do our Didn't See That Coming. That'll be released, I believe, in June. And man, it's such a great movie, but such a fucking hard movie to write about and try to be entertaining because it's so heavy-handed. and like the message that's in that movie is so great, and it's so hard to try to do a laughy, jokey, entertaining sketch, segment about such a heavy-handed movie. But man, you are obviously very, very prominent in the horror community with your podcast, and that's how we met each other. And for those of you that haven't heard it, the links are down here in the description. So make sure you're clicking these links. Make sure you're checking out the podcast, subscribing to the podcast, as well as following Grae himself on all his social media accounts. Now, before you do that, though, you need to learn where horror started for him. So, Grae, I want to go back to the past and talk about what got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie. And Grae, the first horror movie that you watched was
Pumpkinhead. I can't say, or it's the first film that actually like, this is a horror movie. I later realized that there were some things that was leading me on this path that I was unaware of. And a big case in point is Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Batman. I went to the premiere of that. And then Edward Scissorhands as well, which were all Tim Burton films. But as a kid, didn't know that.
Yeah.
And he was kind of leading me up to this Stan Winston, for me, masterpiece. I know it's more of a cult thing as far as other people, but man, practical effects scared the hell out of me.
Yeah. And real quick, this episode is all about you. I want to keep it that way, but I got to tell you, because you just brought something up. We recently did an episode live, and we did our top 10 scariest moments from non-horror movies. And all three of those movies you just mentioned, I had a scene from each one of them on my list.
Really?
Like, yeah, I had from Edward Scissorhands when he's trying to touch his dad, and he cut, like, that scared me so bad when his creator, his dad, died. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, obviously Large Marge, scared the living shit out of me as a kid. And then Tim Burton's Batman at the end, when the camera's doing that spin pan down on the Joker when he's on the concrete, and it's that laugh box. Like, that got me so bad, man. So it's just so funny to me that you bring up those three movies, and those three movies were so prominent with me as a young man in being a terrifying scenes that were not in horror movies. So it's just funny how these little tiny segues, these little tiny things guide us into the direction where we end up being. And for it to be Pumpkinhead, fun fact again, first time this movie is being talked about on this podcast. We're almost at episode 300, and I've never talked about Pumpkinhead. And this is one of the best looking creatures out there. So do you remember about how old you were the first time you had seen it?
I know I was at the 10 or 11. Like, I know it was either 5th grade summer or 6th grade summer. And we had one television in the house, and we just gotten cable. And I'm not even in the room. Like, I'm watching through the cracks. My uncle, aunts, or whatever are watching it. So I'm not in the driver's seat. I never intended on seeing it. I just knew they wanted me out of the room. So that made me want to be in the room more so.
And that's exactly it, because we're at that age now where the grownups are doing it. This has to be cool. This has to be awesome. I have to be a part of this. So as a young boy, do you remember what scene it was that affected you the most?
Yeah, it's not even Pumpkinhead. It's when Ed Hartley is doing the ritual. And I didn't understand witches or seances or anything to do with the Revenant. The fact that just looked real and that people could do that was terrifying to me. It wasn't, I mean, when Pumpkinhead came out, when we had the reveal, that did get me. But something that's going on between a human and possibly a supernatural human, that's what really got me. Like, that's what got me the hands watching like this. And I needed to do that scene.
And it's funny because I think all of us at some point during our first horror movie watched through our fingers.
Yes.
I think that had to have happened at least 1 or 2 times when we watched our first horror film. And with this film, you talked at the beginning about practical effects, and I love Pumpkinhead, the practicality of this monster. And this is a movie that, like you said, it's kind of a cult classic now, but I also feel like it's an underrated horror movie, and definitely an underrated horror villain. Now, we know, Grae, which scene affected you the most, but what would you say your favorite scene from Pumpkinhead was?
The ending. I think when Ed Harley body is returned to the grave, or no, before that, actually, when you start seeing that Pumpkinhead is taking on the characteristics of Ed Harley. And it's just like, wait, I thought it was over. Why are they? Because as a kid, I didn't really get that he was being connected to it. Like he was really sacrificing himself and
Right.
basically intertwining each other, becoming Pumpkinhead. Sorry if that's a spoiler for people.
If you haven't seen it yet, I don't think you planned on it.
Yeah, I was trying to dance around how to talk about it, but yeah, basically he becomes the new Pumpkinhead at the end of the film. And then again, this is the person who I'm watching a movie, but definitely humanized. So I was like, oh, wait, so if I play with witchcraft, then I'm going to become a demon. And like, that's the takeaway. Again, love the practical effects, but it's just like, I'm not even sure if it's meant to be a cautionary tale that young in my life. But that's right. I was like, I play with witchcraft, bad things are going to happen to me. And
I can just imagine a little Grae with his friends. Hey, we got a Ouija board. No! That's so great.
Definitely would have been.
Well, I mean, obviously, this movie affected you to the point to where you still talk about horror every day to this day, you know. And now it may not be your favorite horror movie, and I get that, but do you think that Pumpkinhead had a big influence on you? Do you think, how do I want to word this? Do you think that it took you in the direction of your life that you're going now? If you wouldn't have seen Pumpkinhead, do you still think you'd be the big horror head that you are today?
That's a great question. I don't know, because you know, it sent me. I had a similar thing with Stan Winston as I did with Tim Burton. So I was a big fan of aliens or sci-fi. Watched Alien, watched Terminator 2. The first music video I remember watching because of Terminator 2 is "You Could Be Mine." These are all things done by Stan Winston. Like I watched that video on repeat, like taped it over and over and over again. Yeah. And these little things is what led me to starting to stay to the end credits or reading who did what and making me look more so, not just what I'm being entertained with, but the people who are entertaining me. So like Tim Burton, Stan Winston, big part of that as far as me being me today or being interested in not just the stars of the films.
Sure. And it's funny you say that because you're talking, and I totally think that Alien is a horror film. I don't think there's any question to that. Terminator 2, not so much, but it definitely has the horror elements to it. Definitely has some terrifying scenes in it. But with Pumpkinhead, there are not very many kills in this movie. They are few and far between, but there are a good amount of kills. Which kill would you say was your favorite from Pumpkinhead?
There's a sick side of me that enjoys the boy,
the kid,
just because it's the catalyst for the film.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to go back to the end scene again because I like the death and respawn aspect of it, and I could not move past that. It's like when he's getting buried into the ground, I was like, "Oh, this is going to happen again." Not even aware of like sequels. It was just like in my mind, this is real, and he's going to come out of that ground one day. And that just stuck with me through my childhood. It's like
a little Grae, don't bury him.
Yes. Imagine what I was thinking during Pet Sematary, because I'd already seen Pumpkinhead by then. And I was like, no. Like, oh my goodness. So much anxiety watching the film.
Oh, I know, for real. Like the anxiety has stuck with us all these years too. Now, a question I've been asking recently, and I think this is a really good movie to do this with. Obviously, remakes are something that happens, and I'm not anti-remake. I think that you could do a remake well. Is Pumpkinhead a movie that you would like to see done again today, a remake of it?
Yes.
See, I'm with you. I think they would have to keep the monster practical. I wouldn't want to see them over CGI the movie. But I think this is a movie I think would be I think it could be very successful if they did it the right way today.
I 100% agree. And I think that would give, like, I know there's a Stan Winston school. So I'm sure there are plenty of people that have studied under him and or kids who go there nowadays to pay homage to him, and to have someone like that take the helm or lead and give us a new version. Yes, because the made for TV sequels didn't quite scratch my itch.
Right.
I'm sure someone somewhere out there likes them, and that's fine. But it's rarely, unless it's a marathon, it's rarely getting played.
Well, and I agree with you on that. And I would love to see, like you said, someone pay homage to the original. But what people don't get, and the anti-remake people, like if you do a remake of Pumpkinhead today, a lot of the people that had never seen the original are going to go back and watch it again. Like the sales for Halloween 78 went through the roof when Halloween 2018 came out, because people that had never seen the original went and bought it, went and rented it, went and streamed it just to check out what the big deal was. So remakes can be very beneficial to the original as well. So while we're on remakes and requels, we talked about Pumpkinhead being your first horror movie and how much that meant to you. But now my little buddy Ghostface has a question for you, Grae. What's your favorite scary movie, Grae? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
All time, watching over and over again. You already named it. It's Halloween 78. I can't even tell you how many times I've watched this film, but it is a staple in my house. It is something I definitely grew up on. I want to say my grandmother was like a Michael Myers fan or something. Like I remember it just playing in my house coming up. Like I didn't even have to steal it, or not steal it, but watch the squiggly lines at night or anything like that. It was just playing.
Yeah. What a great, it's fun. I've grown to really, as a youngster, I hated Halloween. I hated it. I thought it was boring. I thought it was white bread. It was just Michael stabby, stabby, stabby. I've grown to really appreciate Halloween for what it is. Just a man that went crazy, put on a mask and started killing people. It's brilliant. I love it. I love Halloween. And what a way to start, like that's another movie we talk about often as a first horror movie. And you got to think that was 1978 and it's still going today. Yes. That's how much that movie has meant over the course of time, to the point where they've gone on different timelines. They've brought in some shamrocks. They've even gone and stolen parts of Stonehenge for that franchise. So I'm a big fan of the Halloween franchise now. Again, as a youngster, not so much, but now I really enjoy it for what it is. Well, man, we're coming to the end here. We're almost to the third act, Grae. So now I want to go back to Pumpkinhead. And what we're going to do now is we're going to rank this on a skull count. Now, we're not going to be critics. We're not judging it on score, acting, production, direction, nothing like that. What we're doing is strictly judging this movie on how much it affected you on first viewing. So 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being very effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. What would your ranking of Pumpkinhead be?
4 1/4 skulls.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. And it's amazing because I'm so almost envious that this was your first horror movie, because this is one of those movies that doesn't get talked about enough. And you can be one of the, because for me, my first horror movie was House from 1986. That's why this poster is up in the background on every episode I do. And growing up, no one knew this movie in my area. So I was always the one that got to introduce people to this movie. Like, oh, you guys got to watch this movie. Let's watch this movie together. And even now today, I know people that have never even heard of House. And I get to, you got to watch this, and text me right after. I still feel like it's my kid and I'm so proud of it, and you get that with Pumpkinhead. It's not like, oh, my first horror movie was Nightmare on Elm Street, and everybody's like, oh, Freddy, yeah, cool. Like you get a movie where you're like, man, my first horror movie, fucking Pumpkinhead, and people are like, who? It's like the Snoop Dogg meme. Who? And you get to be that educator of, look at one of the best made monsters of all time in Pumpkinhead. The way Pumpkinhead looks is fantastic. Like he's so drawn from the Universal monsters, but he's his own thing. And I'm such a fan, and I'm so glad that you have that experience under your hat.
Yeah, I mean the monster itself, like I obviously have gone back and watched the bonus featurettes for like the Scream Factory disc, and just that whole suit for the most part, except for the wiring, is foam. But everything and all the details looks so real. Like you know, a lot of people give it crap for the looking like a xenomorph, but whatever. Won your award. Keep going until it gets you notoriety again.
And again, like, yeah, it does have similarities of a xenomorph, but like you said, a lot of the same people did this stuff.
Yeah.
So that they're also paying homage to Alien as well. So if you guys haven't seen Pumpkinhead, I can't recommend it enough. It is a very good movie, very scary. Like we talked about the boy, there's a lot of sadness to the movie when you watch it for the first time as well. So make sure you guys are checking that out. We are at the third act, guys. So Grae, I want to thank you again for coming on and hanging out with me for a little bit and talking horror. And I want to remind everybody, all the links are down here in the description. So all you got to do is a little click. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. And if you're on your phone, just do a little punch and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're checking him out. Follow him on social media so you can stay up to date on everything that he has going on both of his podcasts. Hopefully more coming in the future. So Grae, don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror. Stay what you are. And we'll see you guys soon.